Good morning and welcome to another episode of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. I am Abby Dickinson.
And I am Samson Balogun.
Samson, good to have you today.
Yeah, it's really nice to be here on the daily cup of coffee for everyone out there.
Okay.
It's a fantastic show to always watch.
Yes, welcome, Samson. Okay, it's another beautiful Wednesday here in Ibadan, and we're diving into a topic that's been stirring conversations around, especially from the financial circle.
All right, that's right. We are talking about the sudden collapse of CBEX, a financial platform that promises high returns with little or no risk. I think that's the definition of Ponzi scheme.
Okay, actually, CBEX describes itself as a global leader in the digital asset trade. You know, but serving users worldwide, but with the ongoing withdrawal issues, social media backlash, and mounting skepticism, the future of this platform remains uncertain. CBEX is one of those platforms that promise high returns and huge following, especially from young investors and private young investors and small business owners. And, you know, it all looked like it was the next big thing until it wasn't anymore.
I think that's not the, the first bite of talking about Ponzi scheme in Nigeria. I think Ponzi scheme started with family members talking to the rich members of their family to actually invest in a business, and eventually the investment will not come back and profit also goes down the drain. For me, that's the definition, the beginning of Ponzi, you know, in this part of the world. And of course, you cannot underestimate the fact that we have history of Ponzi schemes in this part of the world, especially since the era of MMMs. And even before then, you know, Ponzi scheme actually started with, snowballing, word of mouth during that period when we had Real and Cool, Word Solution, where you have to bring people to bring people to bring people
so
that you get paid. So those were the first set of, Ponzi schemes we had at the time. And of course, it eventually metamorphosed into something bigger. That was when the internet was adopted, and then the era of MMM and the likes, where you have to do referrals. You earn on referrals. So once you start, you bring in people, and then your whole money will be doubled, or maybe a certain percentage. I think sometimes 30–40% percentage or return on investment anyway. So or depending on the scheme, the modus operandi of that particular scheme. So it became a major problem because eventually people are losing money. People are losing their investments, all in the name of wanting wealth overnight. I think it's a disaster when we talk about the financial sector. And of course, I think it's not being regulated the way it should. And there are bodies that should be looking into this to make sure we don't get this kind of news, every now and then.
Especially with, big blow to public trust when it comes to alternative trading platforms. And there's a lot to look at. What about the economic impact, If we look at what happened in Ibadan here, Ibadan had a lot of active users, subscribers, if you want to say, or followership of CBEX.
Well,
then the emotional toll it had on people too.
Yeah, if we are going to go down memory lane, you will understand the fact that people are losing monies, and it's prevalent in some part of Nigeria, Abuja, Lagos, Ibadan, and of course, majorly the southwestern part of Nigeria. I think we have had people who have invested heavily in Ponzi schemes in the last, few years. And of course, you cannot you should understand that when Real and Cool came on board, that was between 2001 and 2003. The loss was over 2 billion naira on Real and Cool alone. Wow. And away from there, we had Well Solution came on board. That was 2002 to 2004.
Yes,
the annoying part of this is the fact that they keep coming back. They keep coming back, the same modus operandi, and people will still invest. So between that period, it had major impact in Abuja and Lagos. And during that period, about 1 billion naira was invested, and then it went down the drain. Moving away from there, the era of internet came on board. Ponzi scheme went on internet, and of course, a Russian investor, Mavrodi, came on board with MMM, and people started investing. You get help, you render help, and you get to pay into people's accounts, and then someone pays to another account, and then the networking went on
and all that.
Yes, went on and on like that, and then was a major loss for Nigerians as they lost 18 billion naira.
It was really
to MMM at the time. So away from there, at that time, MMM promised 30% ROI. So if you invest 30 million naira, it means you are getting 30% of 30 million naira on your money when you get paid. So it becomes a problem. And then the Ultimate Cycler, Loom Money Nigeria, a lot of them like that, MBA Forex and Capital Investment.
They keep
Chima
coming.
Group. I think this one, it was very popular at the time. Chima Group also. Rackstally, we had Rackstally between 2020 and 2021 with over 5 billion naira. I'm doing this because I want to arrive at a point.
Okay.
And how even locals swindling their own fellow locals just to make money. And of course, we went to Baraza Multipurpose, a local company that swindled Nigerians of their hard-earned money. And of course, there was a lady between 2020 and 2022. They call her Ovayoza. I don't know if you heard of that name. She resided in Abuja at the time. She was promised people a lot of money, and people lost about 3 billion naira to her investments. And what she did, she claimed to be investing in farm produce storage at the time. So she buys, sells, and then the profits she makes becomes your own ROI. So that was what she was doing until she could not live up to expectation, and then EFCC had to swoop in and arrested her. And of course, the remnant of what she made from people was recovered. I don't know how they got to distribute that back to people who actually invested, but I know for sure that that's not all she had with her at the time. She probably lost some money.
So that brings me back, the EFCC thing. So a lot of people have been saying that EFCC should look into the CBEX issue and the rest. People are saying, was EFCC there when you were making money? Because initially when the CBEX started, a lot of people benefited from it. Do you think, such Ponzi schemes should be monitored by EFCC? I mean, does the EFCC know about this when it starts?
Well, I think that brings about...
because I think it's when people have issues that we now bring it up to the EFCC.
Aside from CBEX, which has crashed, there are so many other, Ponzi schemes that are still on.
Now.
For example, the Eatrich farm is still on. These questionable, investments that people are still investing in. And of course, Patricia Technologies, a whole lot of them like that. Then, I want to go back to the question you asked about... the EFCC and other financial bodies that should be looking into this. I think an era has come where these bodies have to be proactive and not be reactive to things.
More.
It's about what exactly are you investing in? I've had some investments where they lend people money with huge interest on it. And after so much investigation, you realize that they are not even licensed to lend people money. And that's what they do. And they are doing it and nobody is questioning them. So the point is, if these investments are coming on board, they are just registrations on paper. Someone will go to probably the CAC, register with maybe 15 to 24 or 25,000 naira, business name. And that's all it takes to convince Nigerians to bring billions of naira to the table. And then this sucks the economy dry, takes away people's sweats, takes away their resources, their hard-earned money, and then we go back to the same page, which is the drawing board, where Nigerians are complaining of hardship. So if there is actually hardship, I'm not saying there is no hardship in town. If there is hardship, then the problem is, why do we invest monies that should go into ordinary businesses? Take for instance, someone who sells gari at the market that invested in CBEX. Why didn't you go to probably a farm somewhere, buy loads of cassava, invest in your gari business? That's the way to make money. But then someone promises you that, bring your money, there is no risk. You are very sure that after 2 weeks, you are good to go into... See, ask yourself, what business are they doing with these monies? Even people who are, on the FX timeline, foreign exchange, they don't make this much money.
I don't even.
I was talking to a colleague of ours, the general manager radio, who actually said in the stock market invested 5,000 naira on a particular stuff about 5 years ago, and up till now the money is still at 8,000 naira. Means that money does not come easy.
So how
does someone promise you 30% ROI in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks? What business will it do with that money? Ask yourself. So it becomes a problem. Now, where we are going now is there should be regulatory bodies.
Exactly.
Look into this. In fact, Nigerians, I think people who have actually learned their lessons at this time should be the ones who will be the whistleblowers for the government. Look, once an investment of this nature crops up in your neighborhood, what they now do, which you will know that this is indeed scam, is after the first set of people have invested, then what they will do is that they will start telling the first set of people, you have to bring more people. So once you bring more people, those ones get paid. And then their downlines also get to invest and then bring more people. And then becomes on and on and on. Meaning that the last set of people or the last 2, 3 sets, it's in 7 stages after the, the evaluation. You see the last 7 stage, people who actually come after that are coming to dump their money down the drain. It means that they are not getting that money back. And that is exactly when many people are coming on board. They have already seen people who have testified to being paid. It means that so they are sure that, so person got paid.
I think it's when more people start coming.
That's when they are leaving. And then when they start this business, what they also do is they have capitals too. They have probably a 200 million kept somewhere, 400 or 500 million kept somewhere. So the first set of people get paid.
Wow.
And then you go back,
and
some people will invest all the money they made, including their balance, in the business again, and then they get paid again. So after 3 or 4 back and forth, and then pim, the money leaves.
Money is
now,
sweet.
what do the government have to do? It's the fact that you will investigate every business. All these businesses have bank accounts. Where is the money going? If they are paying in dollars, there is a transaction trace. You can trace all these transactions. Where exactly is the money going? Who is taking the money? Who is at the forefront?
But
who is fronting? And then who is at the at the backstage, taking all the money, or maybe who controls the whole business? This is what we should be looking at.
But what if we look at it also from the point of the CAC during registration of these businesses? Because a lot of these businesses or Ponzi scheme, they actually register. They even get physical outlets or offices. Shouldn't the CAC even be able to monitor
when it comes
what is this business all about? Not just a name.
Before we leave this segment, let me quickly say this. When they come to neighborhoods, what they do is they are not bringing their members of staff from anywhere. They are going to recruit within your neighborhood. So it means that you trust people who are taking money from you. You know them. You know their families. You know they live around. So the point is, they are recruiting Nigerians to work and take money from Nigerians. Meaning that you know them. Most of them, okay, take for example, there's an office at Bodija. You see someone you know around Bodija that works with them. And people who are actually behind the business, they are not even showing their faces there. It's just an office that someone rented. They might not even rent their office in the name of the business. Meaning that someone just comes, say, oh, I want an apartment for an office space, and then they start business. And then people who actually lend these properties also have to do due diligence. Before you give an apartment out to someone to do a business of any kind, do your due diligence. What exactly do you want to do on my property? Because as long as there's going to be an investigation, the chain comes back to you as the person who actually gave them the property, because there's going to be an investigation, if at all there's going to be any. If they investigate, they are coming back to the property. They are going to start their investigation from there. Who rented the apartment? That's how the traces will go. But then, all in all, even as a job seeker, when you are looking for a job, you have to do due diligence. And of course, while the job is going on, you already see there are shady deals. All you have to do is to talk. You're also a whistleblower, because eventually, if it's not you, it could be your father, your mother, a family member, someone you love so much, who actually throws a lot of money into this, and then it goes.
Anybody. All right, you've heard it. Just like Samson said, do your due diligence, and try to diversify your investments. Like we say, do not put all your eggs in one digital basket. Well, it's still Daybreak Live reaching you from Dominion Television here in Ibadan. All right, we'll take a break now. We'll go for the Daybreak News, and Miss Grace Aina is standing by for Daybreak News. We'll be right back. But don't forget, we're streaming live on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
morning and welcome to Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I am Aino Grace. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has described late Dr. Omololu Olunloyo as a brilliant mind, a respected leader, and a symbol of integrity and excellence. Governor Seyi Makinde gave the description when he paid a condolence visit to the Malete residence of the late former governor of the state, Omololu Olunloyo in Ibadan, where he had pledged that the late elder statesman will be honored with a befitting state burial. Addressing the wife and family members of the deceased, Governor Makinde described late Dr. Olunloyo as a towering figure in the Oyo State political and intellectual history, whose contributions to governance, mathematics, and public service spanned decades and inspired many. Adding that the state government had already begun consultations with the Olunloyo family to finalize arrangements for a state funeral that will reflect the legacy and stature of the late statesman.
Between the family and the government, because this is going to be a state burial. So we've nominated 3 state officials that will sit down with the family and then get at least get a date and then start the planning.
Born on April 14, 1935, late Dr. Omololu Olunloyo was one of the Nigerian's eldest PhD holders in mathematics. He served as the governor of Old Oyo State in 1983 during the brief civilian rule under the National Party of Nigeria, despite his short tenure. He was widely respected for his intellect and vision for the development of the states. President Bola Tinubu has declared a national emergency on food security, urging expanded irrigation infrastructure and participatory water resource management nationwide. Tinubu made the declaration while opening the 6th African Regional Conference on Irrigation and Drainage opened in Abuja, where he was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume. Tinubu urged African nations to adopt innovative strategies in addressing the continent's irrigation and water management challenges. The Olubada of Ibadan land, Oba Owolabi Olakuleyin, has warned compound heads, popularly known as magajis, and village heads, also referred to as bales, against land grabbings and insubordinations to elders within their families. He gave the warning during the installation of 9 compound and 2 village heads in his palace at Okearemo in Ibadan. The monarch further warned them to ensure that peace reigns supreme in their domains, as no meaningful development can be achieved without peace. In a bid to enhance students' discipline and academic performance, a lawmaker in the Oyo State House of Assembly, Honorable Monsuru Lekon Abiola, representing Akiyemi 1, has called for a comprehensive ban on the use of personal mobile phones in secondary schools across the state. He made the submission during a session of the Assembly, highlighting the detrimental effects of mobile phones usage on students' focus and behavior. He underscored that he underscored that studies have shown unrestricted access leads to social media addiction, cyberbullying, exposure to inappropriate content, and examination malpractice, noting that teachers have voiced concerns over students using mobile phones for non-educational activities during school hours. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has inaugurated a 21-man committee to oversee legislative activities of the suspended Rivers State House of Assembly. Abbas, while inaugurating the ad hoc committee, urged members of legislate on behalf of the suspended Rivers State House of Assembly in line with the provisions of the Constitution. The committee members are lawmakers drawn from each geopolitical zone of the country. The Speaker, in his address to the ad hoc members, urged them to be non-partisan in discharging their statutory legislative responsibilities, stressing that they should offer quality legislative activities for good governance and in the interest of the oil-rich states. The management of the Federal University Oye-Ekiti, Ekiti State, have debunked reports and insinuation that the institution's vice-chancellor, Professor Abayomi Fashino, was suspended, describing such as false and attempt to mislead the public. The university management, in a statement by the public relations officer Folusho Ogumodede made available in Ado-Ekiti, said that Fashino had proceeded on 6 months accumulated annual and research leave and remained the substantive vice-chancellor till February next year, when he would, on completion of his tenure, hand over to a successor. It, however, said that the university would not hesitate to take legal action against the detractors if they failed to desist from misleading the public. And in business, the federal government has maintained that the need to end the importation of photovoltaic solar panels into Nigeria. The Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of the Rural Electrification Agency, Abba Aliu, stated this at a roundtable meeting held in Lagos between the REA and the Lagos State government. According to Aliu, efforts are ongoing to change the narrative and domesticate the manufacturing renewable equipment in the country. The REA and Lagos State government were in Lagos to sign a memorandum of understanding for the electrification of rural communities in Lagos. And now to sports. The Nigerian Boxing Federation has announced the adoption of the newly approved World Boxing Weight categories for the forthcoming 22nd National Sports Festival, scheduled to be held in Abeokuta, Ogun State, in a competition advisory issue to all concerned stakeholders. The Federation clarified that as an affiliate of the IOC recognized World Boxing, it is bound by the statutes and regulations of the International Federation. The clarification comes after several state coaches, including Niger State boxing head coach Ismail Raji, expressed confusion over which weight categories would be used for the sports festival after presenting the two different categories in a message directed to the Secretary General, Olalekan Fashesi. That ends the news on Daybreak Live. My name is Aino Grace. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to listen to us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and also on X at Dominion Casts. Good morning.
Welcome back from that short break. That was Daybreak News on Dominion Television. The show is still Daybreak Live. Don't forget you can watch us live on our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast on YouTube. Also, you can also watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng. You can also link up with us on all other social media platforms at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, You can do that at Dominion Broadcast. And of course, on X, it is at Dominion Cast. We'll move straight to newspaper review this morning, where we'll bring you the major stories on the pages of the newspaper this morning. And of course, we'll be starting with the Guardian newspaper. And that's where I bring you the major story on the Guardian newspaper this morning that says desperate Nigerians lose over 1.7 trillion to Ponzi schemes in 9 years. That story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper.
Okay, so much with Ponzi schemes. There's a lot of riders to that as well. But then we'll go to...
Let's take the riders. Because we mentioned it earlier. Riders are returns with no risk. If anyone tells you that, it is Ponzi. Guaranteed return on investment. It is guaranteed. You have no risk whatsoever. It is still Ponzi. Unknown owners, corporate offices, it is Ponzi. If you cannot trace the owners of a business, and of course you have to invest, that's Ponzi scheme. Of course, pressure to reinvest and recruit new investors. That tells you this is completely a Ponzi scheme. And of course, the fifth one is unregistered and unregulated. It is Ponzi scheme. And of course, in some cases, some people will register just a business name on paper, no accreditation from any financial institution.
That's right.
And then they will tell you to bring money and start inviting people. It is Ponzi scheme. So away from that this morning, Ebi.
Okay, also from the Guardian newspaper on the top left-hand corner, Rivers vow to recover 300 million naira from NBA, threatens legal action. You can find this story on page 3. You know, we spoke about this.
Yeah,
let's say it's a gift.
They say it's a gift. Well, let's see what happens. So they have threatened legal action, and then we'll see what happens from there. I think the back and forth has not ended. We have still not had the last of that particular story. So when it develops, we will keep you updated. All right, inflation resumes upward trend, rises to 24.23% in March. The inflation in Nigeria is becoming something more unbearable for the people. And of course, that story is on page 15 on the business page of the Guardian newspaper. That tells you that food is not coming down soon. Since inflation is still here, it means that transport fare is not coming down soon. And of course, tuition fee for your children in school is not coming down soon.
Okay. All right, still from the headlines of the Guardians, reps inaugurate 21-member committee to make laws for Rivers State. I see Rivers State is actually on the news today.
It's still there. Okay. All right, on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper this morning, address pervasive killings decisively. Kaigama tells Tinubu. That story is on the Guardian newspaper. Also
from the Guardian newspapers on page 6, Atiku PDP youths biker on alliance as Makinde voices capacity in quotes to lead Nigeria. All right, there's a story credited to Agbakoba this morning as Natasha's sexual harassment allegation watery, contradictory, says Agbakoba. Well, this Agbakoba is a renowned legal practitioner in Nigeria. So he has studied this and says, look, this is what I've seen. But then the courts might have something different to say. Let's see what happens. As long as the case is in court, I think it is off discussion. I want to say something, but let me let it be. Well, let me let it be. In time we'll know what happens. Okay. IGP vows justice at Mufang visits grieving Plateau communities. You find this from the Guardian newspapers on page 20. All right, 2027, Atiku, PDP youth bicker on alliance as Makinde voices capacity to lead Nigeria. That's on page 6. This is not the first time we are getting to hear this. There was a time story broke out that, there's a chance the governor of Oyo State might decide to run for presidency, come 2027. And of course, there was another story yesterday where he said he's capable. So whoever says he wants to run, well, that person is entitled to his opinion, but then he knows that he's capable of running. So let's see what happens. Do you think he's capable to become a president? From my own point of view, I can't be sentimental anyway. This is what we do for a living. The truth of the matter is, as long as he's a Nigerian, as long as he's financially capable to foot the bills when it comes to buying forms, preparing for the election, all the funds that comes with it, the expenses, he's capable. Let's see what happens. The people will decide if he wins or not. All right, still on the bottom page of front page, bottom side on the right hand of the Guardian newspaper. Nigerians are dying due to Tinubu's incompetence, and this is coming from Atiku. Atiku is claiming that Nigerians are dying due to President Bola Tinubu's incompetence.
All right, the lower third of the Guardian newspaper this morning, Lagos says citizens spend 14 trillion naira yearly to power homes, businesses. You'll find that on page 4. And of course, before I go, talking about LG autonomy, this story seems to be, has decided not to leave the scene anytime soon. And that's a court adjourns Algon suit against federal state governments. That story is on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. That takes us to the New Telegraph.
Okay, on the New Telegraph, the top front page, it says FARC shares 1.578 trillion to federal government, states, local governments as March revenue.
Okay, I'll take the major story on the New Telegraph this morning. Emergency rule: you must report to NAS. Reps tell Ibas. That story, as Abbas, the rider, as Abbas say approval of emergency rule in Rivers constitutional necessity, inaugurates a 21-member ad hoc committee, and of course, state government threatens to sue NBA over 300 million naira gift, and of course, Rivers judiciary faults judge's claim of resignation, says he was sacked. Okay, that story is on page 4 and page 6 of the New Telegraph this morning.
Okay, from page 2, 3, and 6 of the New Telegraph, Plateau killings still there. We failed you. Move Wang apologizes to the community.
Okay, I take this one. U.S. tariffs. I think it's on a daily basis that we get to see this story on the newspaper. And of course, Nigeria's 9.59 trillion naira trade, 55 trillion naira budget, 4.42 trillion naira agric exports at risk. That's coming from MAN, that's a Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. Tariffs threaten to the nation's oil revenue. That is coming from NMPDRA. That's on page 2 and on page 8 of the New Telegraph this morning. Okay,
finally from the New Telegraph, the bottom part of the front page. This is about health issues where Lassa fever death toll hits 127 with Ondo, Bauchi, Edo as the worst hit. You can find this news or this story on page 4.
All right, let me pack the remaining story on the New Telegraph this morning before we go. Nigeria prepared for demands of future of work. That's coming from Tinubu this morning. That's on page 3. And of course, 2027 Southeast Youth planned 5 million man rally to endorse Tinubu Ojikalu. That's on page 4. And FG declares Good Friday, Easter Monday, public holidays. That's on page 6. That's coming from the Minister of Interior, Tunji Ojo, this morning. And lastly, Unilorin students set new global record in mathematics marathon lesson. That's on page 2. That takes us away from the New Telegraph.
Just before we go away,
the
Ojikalu and Tinubu. You know, yesterday we were talking about Shettima.
So the APC saying it should not replace Shettima.
So, and we're saying something must, be in the works for that story to come out.
I think.
So, is this the
story wouldn't have the story wouldn't have made its way onto the pages of the newspaper if there was nothing going on underground.
Okay.
Maybe the presidency are considering permutations ahead of the next election. Okay, we liaised with the North to win the election in the last, election. Maybe if we do that with the Southeast, South this time around, maybe something different is going to come out. Regardless, the permutation, and of course the election is still far away. Let's see what happens. And then this story is definitely going to develop.
Okay, still from the newspaper headlines, we'll go to the Nigerian Tribune. And I'll take this one, presidency, just like we've spoken before. I am focused on mandate given to me by Oyo State people. This is coming from the executive governor of Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde.
Okay, I take another one right beside that one on the upper third of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And that story says, food, non-alcoholic beverage, push Nigeria's inflation to 24.23%. in March. That story, you can get a copy of the Nigerian Tribune and pick that story on page 6.
Okay, for the main story, like we've heard, on top on the emergency rule happening in Rivers State, reps inaugurate 21-member committee on Rivers oversight with the rider. State government threatens NBA with legal action over 300 million naira and conference fund. PDP World Chairman Forum writes IBAS to halt unconstitutional appointments. You can find the story on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune.
Well, away from there, FG states LG's share 1.578 trillion naira March revenue. That's on page 7. So, money has been shared.
Exactly.
Local government must work. State governments must work. It means that the federal government also must work. Money is on ground now.
Okay.
It has been shared.
Okay.
Away from there, let's take another
Okay, Investment and Securities Act 2025, engage in Ponzi scheme, spend 10 years in prison. Wow, page 12. I think you should try and read that, but I don't know if engage in Ponzi schemes, is it the people investing in Ponzi schemes or the Ponzi scheme
they are the
owners,
investors.
the investors?
Well, there are two investors.
Okay.
There are ones who actually sit and then tell people to bring their money.
And they are the ones that
they're also putting the
bring in
shift.
their money.
Building a website is not free. Getting an office is not free. Those are investments too.
Okay.
Though that's not the kind of investment we want in Nigeria, but in the long run, they are the stakeholders. And of course, if you are a stakeholder in Ponzi, it means that something is going to happen to you going forward if the government gets to lay their hands on you. And then that's one thing we discussed earlier while we were having the teacher that the government should look into this holistically. It's not about Nigerians losing their money alone. It's about the economy. If the people are in abject poverty, and of course the little they still have goes down the drain just because they want to double their money overnight, the only thing that can make a Nigerian, anyone around the world, invest in Ponzi is because he believes he wants more. He feels he doesn't have enough. He feels he can get more. And if he feels the government cannot provide him more, then he looks for alternative ways of making that more, which is a problem. And that's where Ponzi scheme. See, Nigerians are very brilliant. The moment they spot a loophole where they can plug in, that's what they do. So Ponzi is a careful consideration of some people who know exactly what Nigerians want per time. So once they realize that, they plug into it and then suck them down and disappear. That's what is happening. They realize Nigerians, most Nigerians need more money. What they currently have is not enough to cater for the family. So they decide to take the little they have and take it away from them. And that is Ponzi. That's the definition of Ponzi.
Saying you don't have, but you now have to even put into such schemes.
That's the problem. You realize that most Nigerians will complain about certain things. We cannot do this, we cannot do that. But then when you bring a shortcut to wealth to them, all of a sudden, even if they don't have,
open arms,
they borrow from people. I've seen people complain that, oh, the money I invested in is also business. I borrowed from someone. Now you have lost that money. You are still going to repay back to the person you borrowed from.
And I hear people take loans just to invest in Ponzi.
Just to invest in Ponzi, because what you make as profit, is enough to clear your loans and also pay the interest. So that's where they actually came in. But then away from there, let's take another story this morning. Lassa fever, death toll hit 127, says NCDC. Ondo, Bauchi, Edo, worst hit. That's on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. That's a rather disastrous one.
Very.
Yeah.
Okay, NMDPRA blames Trump tariff policies for crude oil price fall. This is on page 6, and with the rider, as Nigerians see sharp drop in petrol imports, investors get 47 licenses to establish 1.75 million BPD refineries.
Barrel per day.
Okay.
All right, let's take another story. US 14% tariff has significant impact on sector economy. That's coming from Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. You'll find that story on page 30 of the Nigerian Tribune. That takes us away from the Nigerian Tribune this morning, and then we land on the blueprint. And of course, the uppermost part, which is the upper third, says IG visit Plateau, assures of justice for Bassa massacre victims. That story is on the blueprint newspaper this morning, page 18.
Okay, also on the Blueprint newspaper, like we've seen on other headlines, report directly to NAS, reps tell Rivers administrator. Rivers administrator is really sitting on a hot seat, I must say.
I think his job was made clear. His job is to be the sole administrator until normalcy returns to that place. And of course, the president actually gave the order for state of emergency in Rivers, and eventually the House of Reps actually bought the idea, and then they gave the go-ahead. Now, okay, the president took his decision, but then we are in support. Now, it has to be clear. They don't have to confuse Ibokete Ibas. What they have to do is to make sure they outline his role, and of course, who he reports to. As a sole administrator, who he reports to. Is it the presidency? Or is it the National Assembly? This is, because he might probably feel like, yes, because the president actually made me
so I have to report
to the president. Now, the National Assembly are also saying, look, you report to us. So now the problem is, who is Ibas going to report to? And that's going to be a deal that is to be struck between the National Assembly and the presidency. Or maybe find a way. Probably there's going to be a committee that listens to what he has to say. Probably some people from the presidency, and of course, members of the National Assembly, another committee created or formed just for that purpose.
Okay. All right, we're still on this. Federal government, state and local government share 1.578 trillion in March. And I think, Sam, what do you think about this Morocco 2025 sports story here?
Well, I think the Flamingos, they are stepping up for Algerian clash. That will be their first game in the competition. And then we wish them best of luck. They have been preparing for some time. And just as we know, age grade football in Nigeria has been something that brings Nigerians joy. Exactly. So we believe that going forward, they are going to perform excellently well. Let me take this last story on the Blueprint before we leave. With Lagos, Calabar Coastal Highway, Tinubu's second time assured. That's coming from Governor Heno. Last evening, he openly endorsed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for second term. And that, you have been saying that from some governors too. A few of them have been, vocal about this. Probably because they believe in his ideologies, believes in his manifesto, and of course, what he has done so far as president of the country. But away from that, if the governors believe in him, the election will decide if the people believe in him.
Do they really believe in him, or is just they just want to be in his good books and be there because they still want to be in the system?
As long as you support the president, you are sure of your own return ticket too.
Exactly.
Only if you are not returning. And then most of governors who are actually done with their second term, some of them decide to go to the Senate, and some of them might be looking at the presidency for an appointment, maybe a ministerial appointment, an ambassadorial appointment. Something has to come out. A chairman of a board, things like that. So it means that whether you like it or not, most politicians, after their tenure, whatever it is they have been voted in to occupy, they still don't want to leave the corridor of power.
They don't.
That is where relevance comes in. You want to stay relevant. Otherwise, when the election comes, nobody cares about who you are or where you are.
Are you staying relevant?
If you don't have the structure to present. Because the only way you can maintain a structure, Nigerian politics. That's Nigerian politics for you. You can do it abroad where you tell them, look, I have good intentions, and then this is my blueprint, and they believe in you just by seeing your blueprints. But in Nigeria, Nigerians don't believe in blueprints like that. Only a few Nigerians believe in ideologies. Some Nigerians believe in, especially people who do party politics, they believe in what they stand to gain. Because the moment you are there, they will ask you exactly what are you bringing on the table. And that is not what you have for the people, it's what do you have for the party. The moment you start asking that questions, that is a problem. It means that to keep them in your close circle, you have to continue to bring something to the table. And you cannot continue to do that when you are no longer in the office. Because whatever money you have made in politics, kept somewhere, if you continue to take from it, then you eventually end up running out of cash.
Because that was where I was going to, that are they there for themselves or are they there for the people? I mean, if you are serving the people, yes, but a lot of, these politicians, it's just for...
Being honest, so we can move away from that. I don't think, I feel like, you know, in some cases, when you carefully examine Nigerian politics, you realize that the fact that people don't really want to be served.
You think so?
Yes.
People don't want to be served.
They don't really want to be served because majority of the people who will come out to vote on the election day, go and check, do your statistics, you do your calculations, you realize most of them are card-carrying members of one political party or the other. And they know they have something to gain being a member of that political party. It might not be immediate, but then in the future, they feel like as long as I'm loyal to this political party, I stand to gain something. But then an average Nigerian that is meant to come out and decide the fate of the country is probably somewhere at home doing, watching a movie on election morning.
On election morning.
They probably at night, a day to the election, go out to buy fuel their generator, full tank, and then boom, cook the kind of food they like,
yes.
and then they are enjoying.
You see people playing football on the streets.
I know you have done it before.
No, Okay, I think we'll end it with this. FCCP seals off 10 Abuja shops over rice rebagging and unfair pricing. This is also coming from the Blueprint newspaper.
And that takes us to the leadership newspaper this morning. Reps inaugurate oversight committee on rivers. That story is on page 21 of the leadership newspaper.
Okay, we're still here with Trump. Okay, this one says Trump tariff threatening Nigerians' oil revenue.
DPRA once.
It's a mouthful.
That's okay. Tinubu will do 8 years in office as president.
Oh,
that's coming from PDP governors.
So
that
much.
story is on page 26. So much confidence there.
So much on this 8 years. But
years.
if you look at it, how many presidents haven't done 8 years? You know, when they are emphasizing this 8 years, I don't even think it's new anymore.
I think it comes with the structure of how election is, you know,
it's not
carried
new.
out in Nigeria. It's not new. The fact that there is almost certain chance that you return to office after your first 4 years. It's like that every year. You only in a few cases, especially the politics is played within the party. So if you don't get to win, you know, the heart of party members, you might not return. That's exactly what happened to Ambode in Lagos State. That brought Sanwo-Olu in. You know, these are things that happen only on few cases, selected occasions, when the party feel like, okay, there's no vote of confidence within the party members. They don't trust you to lead the party anymore. So it means that someone else will have to come on board. But then in most cases, as long as the party is with you, they have entrusted you with the ticket, then you know that you know, you are coming on board. Look at what happened in Anambra State. The current governor, former CBN governor, Charles Soludo, you know, came to, you know, he just won a ticket to return back to the. That means it is almost like that, you know, he gets to return to office, you know, after the election. So, away from there.
Okay, we'll take this story on page 23. It says 27 hospitalized over crash of CBEX trading platform. Oh, wow. Really sad to see this story. Really sad.
A very sad one.
Very sad.
Well, we have failed you. Governor Wolfswang begs Plateau community. Says every community must defend itself. Perpetrators' days are numbered. That's coming from IGP. And of course, Northern Youths, Zumunta condemns killings. Now, I want to ask these questions. If the governor says every community must defend itself, how? Because we could remember in some cases, some farmers who tried to defend themselves against, you know, the supposed herdsmen. Some of them got arrested. Some of them, you know, eventually lost the battle. This is something the governor has to be clear about, so that people don't, you know, take the law into their own hands.
Exactly.
Be clear about how do they defend themselves. Is it by whistleblowing? Once you spot others, you call, you know, the government to come and take care of it, or you are telling them to carry weapons by themselves, which under the law, I don't think it's advisable.
Exactly.
So the governor has to be clear about what he means about this.
Okay. Illegal mining sites slide kills 4 in Niger. This is coming from page 16.
Okay. Still talking about inflation, 24.3%. Nigeria's inflation rate is to 4.23%. That's on page 27 of the leadership newspaper this morning.
Also coming from the leadership newspaper and trending, Tinubu declares national emergency on food security.
Well, that's, I think this story also came out yesterday, where
Yes, it did.
we said, I think it's something that should have been done a long time ago. One of that is providing adequate security for farmers on their farmlands. As people are leaving their farmlands, only to be sure that they are going to survive till the next morning. People are abandoning their business. If we cannot farm, will we get to a stage where we have to import food in Nigeria if farmers are leaving their farmlands? Because you can understand the fact that there are some places in Nigeria, especially places like Baga in the northeast, which is in Borno State. This is one of the biggest fish farms you have in a country. And of course, it's a territory where they on occasions have lost to Boko Haram. So that tells you that each time they lose those territories to Boko Haram means that food will be, bringing food down here will become a problem. And of course, there are farmlands, there are places in Niger State, even in Yobe State, where they have had issues with, the insurgents and of course bandits, giving them issues on their farmland. In fact, it came to a stage where some places, they don't even send them away from their farmlands. What they do is, they tell them, look, on this farmland, we are taking so amount of money from you within so period of time. So they are more or less like taking taxes from them, which should go to the government. So if the government wants to be proactive, provide adequate security for these people. If you want food security, there should be enough food. And how do you do that? Farmers should be able to stay on their farmlands. Farmers should be able to get soft loans to aid their businesses. Because if 20–30% of current farmers we have, if they leave the business, then it's a big problem for the country.
It is. I agree with you. Okay.
Let's go straight to business day and take the business story. This morning, all right, oil palm growers to replant 1.5 million hectares of rising appetite as BUA, OOP, others ramp up investment. That story in some business day newspaper this morning. Okay, I think that's it on our newspaper review segment this morning. That's how we wrap up. We draw the curtains on this part of the show. And of course, we go on a short break. And when we return, Daybreak Live continues on Dominion Television. Don't forget, you can watch us live on our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast. You can also do that on our website, dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. You can also do that by linking up with us on all other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and of course on X at Dominion Cast. We'll be back after this time out. The break continues.
I had no doubt in my mind that with this collection, we are going to set agenda. More importantly, we are going to enforce social ethics. Because part of the problem of Nigeria is that the state is too powerful and the society is too weak. So when the state begins to misbehave, the weak society has no power to hold them into control. So we begin to do social ethicizing. So we not only report, we will not only inform, we will also set agenda.
Someone told me that at the last count, there are about 53 radio stations within the broadcast landscape alone. And I said, yes, why not? We are here to make a difference. I said something yesterday I was told when I was very young. that nínú obì láti yọ ìfín. Which means that in the committee of metals, the platinum stands top. It's top notch. You cannot compare the platinum to gold, to silver, to brass, or to anything. So Dominion is here to dominate in practical terms.
Welcome back from that short break. That was the newspaper review segment, and of course we have gone to that part where we bring you the analysis, in-depth analysis. Don't forget, at Dominion Television, we bring you unbiased analysis and of course undiluted reportage. The show is still Daybreak Live, and of course I have with me this morning, we have with us in the studio Plato. Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mr. Plato, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
How's Nigeria treating you?
Oh, well, Nigeria is treating us well. Everyone has just got to be fine.
I hope you're wearing...
You can't wait for, the whole thing to bring you down. You just have to have a leverage also, an opening to make yourself happy in spite of it all.
So we're talking CBEX. Did you invest?
Well, I'm not a Ponzi person. I'm not a Ponzi person. I have always had this aversion for anything that the means and the whole process is not clear. And without any apologies, I do not have any sympathy for those who invested in the scheme. If you look at it really, if you look at all Ponzi schemes, one thing is clear, there's an underlying factor there, which is the place of greed. Now, tell me, why would you invest in something and then they tell you that your ROI, your return on investment daily is $10? So what are you doing? They tell you you are trading. What exactly are you buying or selling?
Buying or selling.
Now, if you are buying or selling, have you ever seen a trader that goes to his stall or shop and then makes the same profit daily? So these are valid questions that anyone who wants to be critical, in the face of all of these things would have asked. But unfortunately, because of the greed of our people, now they tell you and you see a lot of these Ponzi schemes. Forget the ones that we know, the MMMs, the Get Help and all that, that we've known, the Quick Reach, Easy Money, and a lot of all these, so many of them. In fact, Nigeria's had over 30 of these Ponzi schemes.
As we speak, some are still ongoing.
Yes, in the last...
Exactly, yes.
Including your tap, the tap that, that trended some months back.
Yes.
Now, you see, if you look at all of these things, it's a question of someone telling you are going to earn this for doing nothing. So they tell you that and you feel that, wow, that's quick money. There are people lost a lot. And I said this boldly, that even Nigerians in Nigeria did not lose as much as Nigerians abroad. Now, this thing came from abroad, and, they brought the link to them, obviously from a Nigerian, about a company that is validly and legally registered in China.
China, exactly.
A company running its legit business in China.
Exactly.
And this is how the Ponzi scheme run. They look for a company that has had a brand name. Yes, that has had that brand validity over the years. Look for that company involved in finance, and then they bring in something that is not related to what the company does. Now, if you look at CBEX does global equity trading. There is nothing like buy one get one free that that you see. Yeah, that's what CBEX does. And then somebody, I believe strongly, Nigerian possibly, and I listened to someone who said that if you want to know the person that started this, or that brought this scheme, ask for the uplink. There's something they call it an uplink and a downlink. Yes. So if you, First Lady, introduced the link to me, I should hold you responsible. You will equally hold whoever introduced, who is your uplink, and then by the time you begin to trace that chain, you will get the person. And I tell you, a lot of Nigerians, some of these fraudulent Nigerians do this. You know, they move from one state to the other, introduce these schemes. It's the same with what you call a lot of these multi-level marketing schemes as well. Someone comes and tells you one fantastic story. And this is it, about the psychology of gambling, as I often call it. The psychology of gambling is what we call a singular success story.
Okay.
So you need one person to say, I won this. And in truth, the person won it. But what of others who had lost? So, for instance, you decide to engage in a betting scheme and then you won. Well, there are others who lost monies. And the fact is,
your own success story is going
the
to
gambling
make other people
scheme
come
never
on board.
loses. The gambling scheme never loses. You'll be shocked that of the top 10 websites in Nigeria, gambling sites gambling sites occupy 6 positions. From 2nd to 7th.
You don't see.
Even more than your known social media platforms.
Okay, Plato, this morning, there are so many things that comes with betting, and of course that comes with the Ponzi scheme. Talking about Ponzi in Nigeria, I for one believe Ponzi started with individuals who have actually encouraged a family member who is visibly rich, has the money, look, invest in social business.
No, I think let's not make that mistake of visibly rich. You don't have to be rich to involve in Ponzi scheme. I've heard stories of people who are to take these online loan schemes for this. In fact, I know someone who was said to have taken, from 3 different online loan apps. And then the money that was given. You see, that's the thing with greed. They believe, in fact, I know someone told me about a church where virtually every member got involved. They held seminar in the church for CBEX.
For CBEX. Wow.
And that speaks a lot. So even from the pastor to the members of the church are deeply involved.
Now let's talk about the effect it has on the Nigerian economy. Don't you think this particular the Ponzi schemes will make people lose trust in the financial sector?
Well, there is nothing this has got nothing to do with the financial sector in real sense, because these monies are not routed through the CBN. Okay, they are BTCs, and even you remember that the CBN at the point came up with the idea that it was going to clamp down on Bitcoin and all that. This is because you can hardly track it. Payments on this platform, and you see that a lot of these young chaps who are involved in fraud and so on route their monies through BTCs, which they then sell. So they trade in dollars, and nobody can easily track them. You cannot trace. The money is essentially gone. And the interesting thing also is that with BTC is that you can have so amount on your board, but the money has been gone long ago.
Long ago.
So you have so amount on your board, but the money has been gone long ago. There. So it's just there because it's essentially about tech. So you see, you have $150, or you have $700, or you have $5,000 on your board, on your dashboard, but then what you have in the actual sense is no dollar.
It's no dollar. You are just saying the figure.
So it has nothing to do with finance sector, except for the fact that because again, this effect would have been felt long before now, because these guys have mopped these monies. Okay, they have mobbed this money into the account of the platform, and gradually the monies have been leaving the economy without trace. So you see that money supplied into the economy becomes, so you ask yourself, for instance, that the government says that, or the CBN comes out and says this is the amount of cash in circulation, but this is the amount of cash that is in bank. So there are non-banked cash strolling out there, roaming out there, and that's why we need to have the CBN needs to come up with more stringent policies on how to track the cash flow in the system. Now this would have been a lot difficult if what we ran is essentially you know, a nearly cashless, you know, society. It would have been a lot difficult. Now, what happened to these guys was they were going to buy, and then when they have their BTCs, they go sell. So it was a lot easier for them. You don't need to move cash. You know, the only cash you do is maybe you're transferring money to someone, and you know, and that's all. So we need to do so much more.
All right. Does this have any increased poverty and financial distress on the people?
Definitely, definitely. If you can be sure that some persons are, you know, definitely slipped not into poverty alone, but into depression.
Because we hear some people have already been hospitalized,
You know,
as a result of
mental
this.
health and social consequences.
Yes, you know, I told someone, and I said, well, you need to go and buy BP drugs now, because I'm not going to pity you, but the truth is you will definitely, you may definitely begin to have to deal with, because how can you take loans from online sharks, loan sharks, just for what you call CBEX?
Because the returns were very high. You know,
Now,
the promises.
Now, this is where it gets shocking. You took an online loan. Now, these online loan sharks are even, you know, terrible. You took an online loan of, say, maybe 200,000, and you pay 35% interest. That's 70,000 naira interest. So you are paying for the 200,000, you are paying 270,000.
Okay.
And now you have lost both capital and
interest.
and interest, because you were told that your ROI it's just only if people could think. You were involved in something, they told you that they are doing an upgrade, and for you to claim your monies, you need to invest more, and then some of them invested more as of last 2 weeks, and then they told them that they were going to do another second upgrade, and that they need to invest more again for them to withdraw. And this is it. I don't blame them. Like I often say again, the psychology of gambling is that you believe that you can still win your money back. So you get to a point that you are not concerned about profit any longer.
Just to get the money back.
You just want to make back your money. And that desire to make back your money plunges you further into the abyss.
Okay, let's talk about the role of EFCC, financial agencies, and of course National Orientation Agency in all this. Because as far as I am concerned, I think the sensitization about Ponzi isn't enough. Judging by the fact that this is not the first time. It started in the millennium, where we had the real and cool wet solution. They all came on board and then took people's money. And then ever since then, there has been incessant, presence of Ponzi schemes in the system. One way or the other, they find their way into the system, and then before you know it, they are gone. One way or the other, they find their way into the system, and before you know it, they are gone. Now, CBEX is here since the millennium, 2000, and now this is 2025. That's 25 years later. Ponzi is still in the system, and they come in like nothing has happened.
And it doesn't look like it's going anywhere.
It is not.
So what should we? Should we ask for stronger regulation?
Definitely, that's the way to go. You see, one other thing also is the fact that, now, does it not shock you that these people had offices?
It does.
Okay? They had offices
Physical
in states.
offices.
Physical offices. So it shows, and it speaks to the reactionary nature of our security agencies. Now, if you know that there is a Ponzi scheme, and then they had physical offices, how much of raiding have we done to pick those persons up? Well, I heard that in Lagos, for instance, they had offices in each local government. So they had in Alimosho, they had in Agege.
So they were well represented.
Yes. So now this also, and interestingly, these are also enablers, because if I know that they have offices, I would want to believe that, oh, they seem genuine.
Yes.
And not just that they had offices, they had their SCUMU, their certificate of incorporation.
Right there.
Right there. So the fundamental questions we should be asking is that certificate of incorporation genuine? If it is, who incorporated them? Who issued the certificate of incorporation?
Who signed it?
Who signed it? Now, these are serious issues that we have to look at, because we don't just let it gloss, we don't just gloss over it. We need to look at it deeply. Like you said, it doesn't seem that it's going to go away. And the EFCC and NOA, Nigerian Orientation Agency, have a lot to do to orientate people. Now, I know that Ogun State, for instance, has criminalized Ponzi schemes and even promoters of Ponzi schemes. I think it's 10 years imprisonment. I don't know of other states. So it means that we need to take serious measures by ensuring that we criminalize it. However, how do we do that when in our respective states, even betting or gambling platforms are promoted? Even states have their own lotto schemes. Now, I'm not condemning them, but I'm saying that it becomes a lot difficult because
almost every state has a lotto board.
Exactly. The same psychology that works for Ponzi scheme is also what works with gambling or lotto schemes.
They are paying taxes.
Yes. So they are
the
paying
government needs
taxes.
money.
So if you begin to
and
mention,
taxes are used to satisfy the people by providing basic amenities like roads, water, electricity.
I tell you, you'll be shocked at how much these guys make daily in terms of daily returns. So how do you expect government to clamp down on them? Or how do you expect government to clamp down on Ponzi schemes and not invariably also clamp down on betting sites? So it's a kind of a double whammy for me. And I feel that government should find a way around it. Well, betting sites, you are already told that if you have lost, you have lost.
Okay.
Ponzi schemes, you are told that you will never lose.
No risk.
No risk involved.
They're always giving you assurance.
So they're giving you high hopes and all that, making you believe that, see, the only thing that can make this fail, like the Titanic, is not even God. So, and then people believe, oh no, have you ever seen people, market these Ponzi schemes? I met one who was touting the Ponzi scheme to me, and I just started marveling at the level of confidence.
They tell you.
And this is it. It's easy to know these Ponzi schemes. They just get the website of the known brand, then they clone the website. Almost like that website. Like the original website, they clone the website, the same name, same logo and all that, which any Tom, Dick and Harry who is into web design can do, and bring their own information. So when you ask questions, it is a link. And the interesting thing about links also is that you can have hyperlinks that are almost the same.
All right, let's go on a short break. When we return, Daybreak Live continues on Dominion Television. We'll be back after this time out. Keep it locked on this dial. All right, welcome back from that short break. Let's go straight back into analysis this morning. We still have with us in the studio Plateau, who has been doing justice to the major stories this morning. And of course, we've been talking about Ponzi. If we continue to talk about Ponzi, there's always something to talk about. And that means we have to leave this topic for another day. 1.7 trillion naira gone like that. Nigerians in Abuja, Lagos, Ibadan, wherever it is, have invested in this particular
It's
scheme.
been a harvest of tears.
Harvest of tears from all corners. But then that takes us away from that story, and then we'll do something that really has to do with the people this morning, and that's the people of Plateau State. The governor is talking, and of course the people are also not clear about what the governor is saying. And then that goes to the issue of insecurity in Plateau State. And then he said, we have failed you. Governor Muswang begs Plateau community. And this particular one got me thinking, which is every community must defend itself. How? How are they going to defend themselves? Are they to carry weapons? Are they to be whistleblowers once they cite suspected others? This is a question that the governor must answer, must clear.
Unfortunately, we are going back to the Obitian state of nature. It was Thomas Hobbes who talked about the evolution of man, you know, from the state of nature to the civil state. And he said that in the state of nature, what was the predominant rule was the rule of self-preservation, which is do all that you can to ensure that you survive. And by virtue of that, it means that life will become short, brutish, and nasty, as he said. And men thought, oh, we can't live like this. So they moved to the civil state. But what we are having at the moment in terms of insecurity in Nigeria is that movement back to that state of nature. How do I mean? Now, the essence of the civil state, in fact, the essence of the Leviathan, as Thomas Hobbes would call it, is to protect the people. The essence of government is to protect the people. Now, when government fails to do this, when government is unable to do this, it simply means that, like Governor Mutuam is saying there, that people should go back to defend themselves. Now, this is the implication. The implication is that if I have to defend myself and then a random person offends me, I can, you know, evoke the power of self-help. It may not be a threat. I will just kill the person. All in the name of self-defense. So that is why government will always have in place that mechanism, because we believe that government will be fair to all and sundry without any partiality. But resorting to self-help, which is what the government is saying, it shows the failure of our security agencies, the failure of our security system, and the failure of government itself. Okay? Because if you are saying that you cannot defend yourself, now the implication is you have asked for reprisals. If you are saying we should defend ourselves, it means that there should be reprisals. And when there are reprisals, the chain begins to get larger and longer. That would lead and how did we get to this point? You see, any criminal justice system that does not ensure the promotion of deterrence will always get to this point. So Mr. A slaps Mr. B. No deterrence was given. Mr. B will definitely stab Mr. A. At that point, it becomes difficult for you to say Mr. B was wrong because you'll be seen as unfair. Now, when Mr. B slaps Mr. A, like they say in Warri, first to do, know the pain. So, the Mr. B that is slapping Mr. A would definitely slap Mr. A in a way that would eat harder than Mr. A slapped. So, Mr. A also wants to get even. When Mr. A tries to get even, he would eat harder than Mr. B eats. And then the chain continues. And then at one point, Mr. B will feel like, no, I don't need to eat Mr. A again. Let me attack his wife and children. Oh, Mr. A feels, oh, why should I just attack his wife and children? Let me not just attack them. Let me kill the wife, children, and whatever he has. And then the family of Mr. B. So that is what we will resort to. Now, I'm not saying that the people also must have the right to defend themselves, because if government has failed, see, nature abhors vacuum. So where government is not stepping in, the people will be expected to step in, and that will not bode well.
All right, let me ask you this morning. Insecurity in every part of the country. It is just more in one part of the country than the other. Now, the government, the central government, which is the federal government of Nigeria, they have taken steps. Recently, there was news by coming from credited to Ali Ndume saying we'll be needing MRAPs, and one cost ₦1 billion. That tells you that we are still going to spend billions and billions of naira on security in the states. And money is allocated for security. We call it security votes for every state. It comes, the moment you get your allocation, your security vote is there. Where is this money going to? of course, now, aside from security votes, over time, it has evolved. Security votes used to be, I think, 60 million naira, as far back as maybe 2007, 2011, around that time. But then it became more and more, especially for states, severely hit with insecurity, like states like Borno, Bauchi State, Sokoto, I think a part of Kano, Zamfara. These are places that are getting humongous amount of money, all in the name of insecurity. Now, those places where they are hit.
Let me start with the issue of security votes. Security vote is done on a lot of bases. One is the security volatility of the state, the population of the state, the the expanse of the state, among others. For instance, a state like Oyo State gets $1 billion for security vote monthly, and because of the nature of that, the allocation, the governor does not have to explain to anybody. But as someone who has been within government circles, I know that there are a lot of ways that these monies go. So a commissioner of police can wake up one day, tell the there is going to be an attack somewhere and we need mobilization.
Credible intel.
Yes, we have
going to be an attack.
And it can come from any of the security agencies. And then the governor will release, although I would strongly believe that they do to a larger part of it, but they spend some of them on security. Now, our fixation on what I'll call ad security or adwares. Because in security and of course intelligence gathering, there is a place of the adware, there is a place of the soft measures. Adwares are you get weapons, but there are also softer measures. It's all about thinking. One, how well have we fared in terms of propaganda against these security agencies? Have you noticed that when there is an attack, there is a wide, media coverage for it? But when there is a reconnaissance or a counter-attack from the military, there is almost a muted coverage. That shows that we are not doing something well. It shows that there is a disconsonance between our, whatever the media team of our military or security agencies and the mainstream media. And see, every war is first won on propaganda. Let me give you a funny story. There's this story in the Bible that I love so much about the 10 lepers who, practically made a whole chariot of an army run away. When they were coming, the Bible recorded that they were singing and they sounded like they were more than the 10. That tells you about the power of propaganda. So you don't just say you've gotten the necessary hardware. If you do not engage in the soft measures, soft diplomacy, how well are we winning? Now,
the use of media.
Exactly. Then two is, it is not all about have we guarded our borders. We keep having issues. I'll give you an example. If you go to Ondo State, we know that the places where there have been attacks have been along Owo to Benin, Owo to Akungba, Owo to Ose. These have been where the kidnappings. They're not even borderlines. These are places with vast forest land. So we can identify them. So you know that, okay, from Akungba, for instance, to Ibilo is porous. From Oka to Ibilo is porous. Why is it then difficult for us to deploy drones
in those areas?
So you walk into a forest and then you see shanties and we just leave them.
Who is living there?
Go to Oyo National Park. I remember back in the day when we used to go to Oyo National Park. Now that place is virtually populated until recently by herders.
Wow.
Nature abhors vacuum. The Oyo National Park was supposed to be a cultural treasure, but then that responsibility was abdicated by the federal government and the state government, and then nature, like I said, abhors vacuum. Something must fill the space. If you are not for God, you must be for something.
Yes,
So these are the issues that we tend to be overlooking. We want to get the hardware, and interestingly too, I must say that some persons have seen it as a means of making money. Oh, so you see situations where it seems like some known security agencies are intentionally fueling all these crises so that they can keep getting money. Why has it been difficult for us over 20 years to tame, insecurity? And I remembered in 2014. I belong to an international, counter-terrorism agency, and where we discuss issues around counter-terrorism and all that. And I remember that in 2015, around February, we gave a report stating clearly to the Nigerian government that Boko Haram was going to move away from the usual,
modus operandi,
terrorism
how they operate.
Attacks, that because attacks were, counter-attacks were getting higher, they needed money, and so they will delve into other spheres like bank robberies, kidnappings, and so on. We didn't even call it banditry then. We called it bank robbery and kidnapping. Now, unfortunately, the Nigerian government failed to do anything about it. Just as soon as the Buhari government came on board, banditry moved, from 0
it became a thing
to 100. So it is not that the intelligence is not there. We have the NSA, we have the DSS. These guys work well. For some of us who have had the opportunity of interacting with them, we know that they are doing so well.
But their reports are not being implemented.
Exactly. A lot of times the reports are even compromised.
Plato, we have to go.
We have to go. Wow.
Thank you for joining us on the show this
morning. You're most welcome.
Of course, there are topics we could not touch.
Yes, we had
a
lot to discuss.
We hope some other time we'll get to discuss more on this show.
Thank you, Plato. We hope we'll get to talk more next time.
We hope next time when we call you, we'll be here.
No, Plato will always be here. Thank you.
All right, that was it on the newspaper review segment, and of course the analysis you have had with us in the studio this morning. Plato, who is a public affairs analyst and of course very fast with the Nigerian Constitution. All right, the show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Don't forget, you can watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. You can also do that on our YouTube channel. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel, which is at Dominion Broadcast, and also on other social media platforms at Dominion Broadcast. All right, we'll go straight to Trend Watch as Osare Noma Saba is waiting. Good morning to you, Osare.
Good morning, Samson.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good to have you.
Thank you. I mean, following from your conversation, I see that you've already mentioned about the Civex, Ponzi scheme. The truth is, it is everywhere on social media, and trust that I will be gisting us about that as well.
All right, we'll be waiting for your gist on Civex.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so yes, this is Trend Watch. Welcome to Trend Watch on Dominion Television. I am the Edo Queen, here to gist with you on all that is happening on social media. So I mean, yes, just like I said, Civex is everywhere on social media. You probably are sleeping under a rock if you're just hearing about it for the first time. It's okay if you didn't know about it before, but now that Kasala has burst and the things have cast, you definitely should know all about it. But what we don't know is the actual history of Ponzi schemes, right? Because I mean, it seems like it's getting too much and we actually don't know where or how this came about. Now, we can trace this back to a certain Charles Ponzi around 1920, who actually, started, his own version of his Ponzi scheme. And his own was even like taking people's money to refund, I think it was 30%, ROI in 3 months. And it was after his own epic, scheme that we decided to adopt the name Ponzi schemes to similar investment schemes, right? So now the latest one is this Civex or Cybex, however they pronounce it, it is this Civex Ponzi scheme. Now, how it started, to be very honest, I didn't even know about it until sometime last week where, colleagues were discussing, and then, someone mentioned how the name has been changed, more than once, and apparently it's an AI trading platform that, people put in their money and then they are promised 100% return on interest after 30 days. Now, for people who actually put in their money, I really would have hoped that I could speak to someone like firsthand to actually understand how they trusted that system so much that you put your money somewhere and you're expecting 100% of it in 30 days. Did you ask what the money is going to be doing? Did you ask, what your money will be used for, and you're expecting it to just multiply when it's not magic? But I mean, that's pretty much, how it happened. As at yesterday, the platform crashed. People were not able to access their funds, and prior to that, they were saying, oh, you need to pay $100, you need to pay $200 verification to actually access, your funds. But still, the status is the money has gone into thin air. Over 1.3 trillion naira, that is over 833, thousand US dollars. If you have that money, what are you putting it inside there? 100% ROI, something. But anyways, let's take a look at some of the comments to just, see how people are reacting to this. Okay, Uncle Bolaji says, it's time to prioritize and deliberately focus on financial literacy, digital literacy, and massive civic education for all Nigerians. That CBEX Kini is so unfortunate. And I totally agree with this, because if I know how to manage our money, or we're equipped with financial knowledge, we would understand that you can't put your money somewhere and expect 100%, after 30 days without actually asking some vital questions, right? Because it's really just a situation of robbing Peter to pay Paul. And the things that these, it's not like I've worked with them before, it's not like, but the things with these Ponzi schemes, they have a system where it has to work for some people for them to evangelize that it actually works. Some people actually did put in their money and they got their ROI, right? But at some point when they needed to take all the money, it just happened, right? So next comment, still on the CBEX, scheme, Al-Amin says, you are not an investor when you put your money in CBEX or any Ponzi scheme. All right, you're just a greedy gambler that's desperate to make money out of anything. I don't feel bad for anyone that loses money on Ponzi schemes. I trust Nigerians to put their money in the next Ponzi scheme. And this is true because over the years, we've seen a trend of coming around, and people, despite the words about, Ponzi schemes, they still put in their money. I was, somewhere yesterday, and, the lady there was mentioning how her big auntie put in 10 million naira. Not one, not two, not even 10 million naira into this CBEX. If to say she gave me now, if to say, but anyways, I don't know how anyways, but if to say she puts it, somewhere else, safer, right, or putting that kind of amount, it's just too risky. Because another thing with this Ponzi scheme, or Ponzi schemes in general, is they promise high returns with no risk involved, and it's risky. Do you get it? It's risky. But yes, she lost her 10 million naira, and even the person telling the story also said she was also a victim of another Ponzi scheme last year, right? I don't even know if that one made social media, but she lost 300,000 naira to that. And I promise you, if another one comes next week, Nigerians people their money inside, they will just say life moves on. But I mean, current headlines today are telling us that 27 people and counting are being hospitalized because of this CBEX crashing. Now, our last comment on this, your circle is clean when you're just hearing CBEX for the first time today. Now, I think this was posted yesterday, right? Because that was when, we actually heard about the crashing. And like I said before, I actually didn't even know what CBEX was about until, the crash happened. But now it is open to the public, and even their office here in Ibadan at Okeado was raided because, angry youths were angry and they went to loot, some items, hoping, for some form of restoration. And I mean, the next slides, we will see that over the years, there's been a trend of different Ponzi schemes. I mean, from MMM, I think that was the one that really got people talking. We have MMM. I mean, there are even plenty. It's like there are even two versions of MMM. There was MMM in 2016 and MMM in 2017. And on the next slide, we'll see the Rackstelli. So from 2016 up until last year, we've had, you know, many Ponzi schemes, you know, just coming around to deceive people. And hopefully, we're hoping that people would wise up and actually be equipped with financial literacy so that they do not lose their money anymore. If you're looking for to spend your money, please, if you give me a for you, and you probably get it back. You probably will. All right. So I mean, away from money matters, Portable has been in the news for some time. You know, he was arrested by Osupa. Yeah, he was arrested because he made use of his tunes without giving proper credit. I don't know, but this has been a trend, you know, over time, particularly about copyright and intellectual property. I always say, aside from knowing how to sing, understand the business of music and your rights. So Portable made use of his tunes, and, you know, when he was accosted, or when, you know, he was accused of it, he, you know, went ahead to hurl insults at him and then made accusations, defamation and all of that. So Portable was arrested, and, you know, now it's a bit of good news for him because Portable has been released from the prison, and he's come up with a new look. You know, his multicolored rainbow hair is gone, and, you know, he's going, you know, skin cut, but he still has his tattoos anyways. And, you know, he posted on his story thanking him for, you know, settling the dispute out of court, because that's what they did. They settled it out of court with the influence of other, you know, legends and musicians like Pasuma and co. Right? So, I mean, let's take a look at some of the comments, because this got people talking as well. Maple here says, if I don't use CBEC Sing since yesterday, that's true. If Portable was, like, you know, free, right, all through, you know, this period or this week, he probably would have, you know, done a little demo about CBEC Sing. He probably would have, you know, released a song about it, and trust people will still listen, to be honest. Our next comment, still speaking on Portable's outlook. Ibe Peter says, them no clean it tattoo join. So I mean, yes, his red, yellow, green hair is gone, but his tattoos are still there. I don't think it's that easy to get tattoos off, but maybe it's the humility of prison or his prison experience that has given him this new look. But we also know that Portable is not a stranger, you know, when it comes to visiting prisons. But I mean, oh well. Last comment on the story, Oreoloa says he actually looks half decent. He actually looks half decent without his multi-colored hair. Well, let's hope that this time he actually stays away for good from prison, all right, and away from, you know, criminal stories or civil issues. Let's move on to wedding bells and celebrations. Now, this is about Blessing CEO, who is a relationship therapist, and you know, she has announced her engagement to IVD. Of course, people are thinking, you know, this is a situation of Two-Face and Natasha, you know, scenario. But I mean, for now, let's just say we wish them well, and we definitely will see how things unfold. And this was her announcement on social media. For the first time, I did not want drama. Oh, she said, I said yes first. For the first time, I did not want drama. For the first time, I did not want the noise. I just wanted peace and softness. To hear our heartbeat as one and hear you breathe into my face. Oh, let's do this together as we take this journey forever. Rhyming. Yes, 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 I will marry you. Ikechukwu Dari Ubina. And that is her announcement on the engagement. And of course, we don't know if it will be a carnival like Priscilla Ojo's and Juma Jokes' you know, wedding, but I mean, we definitely will see more on social media. And pretty much, I would say this is a wrap on what's trending on social media. We have a public holiday on Friday and Monday, so it shows that there's enough time for us to rest, relax for the Easter period, and still see what is happening on the streets of social media. So yes, back to you, Samson and Ebby.
All right, good to have you, Osare. That was awesome. I also saw a picture of Portable right there when he was coming back from the detention yesterday, where his rainbow hair was gone.
Yes.
But one thing that shocked me was that his tattoos were still there. I thought as he cleaned the hair, he probably would do that to the tattoo. But
it's not that easy.
He didn't.
But
then you actually said something. You read a comment. We said if Portable was around, he probably would have done something. Probably a 1 minute song for CBEX.
Yes.
But then they kept the jams is wasted now because he wasn't around.
Well, it's not too late though. He can still drop something.
Yeah, he can still do it. He's around now. Probably he's in the studio already. Who knows?
Who knows?
And then Blessing CEO. I don't know if that is content or that's serious. Time will tell. Maybe in the next few weeks, when the marriage is to be planned, we'll know exactly what's happening.
We will
there.
see. Yes.
Good to have you this morning.
Thank
Asare.
you so much for having me.
Welcome. All right, the show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Don't forget, this is what we do. Bring you major stories on the pages of the newspaper. And of course, we do Trend Watch. And of course, sports. That's what's next on the agenda this morning. We'll be doing sports right now with Oluwani, who will be waiting for us in the next studio. But of course, Abby, talking about, IVD and of course, Blessing CEO. You think that's content?
I think it's content.
Has she done that before? Because
there was one person again she was supposed to marry recently too. So if you look at it, a lot of people will say, how many proposals is Blessing CEO doing? But Blessing with content now.
Proposals can never be too much. You can decide to switch along the line.
Okay. In a space of months, you can have proposals.
And then your favorite artist is back.
Who?
Portable.
Portable is not my favorite artist.
I know you love music shows. You listen to music a lot.
Yes.
But don't you play Portable?
No,
sometimes?
I don't play Portable.
You don't play Portable?
No.
He's not your favorite artist?
No, he's not.
Okay, but then talking about his encounter with King Saheed Osupa, who happens to be a Fuji artist, who claimed there was an infringement on his copyright, and then Portable came out gun blazing. Look, you cannot disturb me, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And then that song was taken off streaming platforms. And then it became, war of words between these two parties. And to be fair, I think Saheed Osupa kept his cool for some time.
He did.
They didn't reply him.
Why should he reply?
And people
From where to where now?
People started playing old songs of Saheed Osupa, which actually had a lot to do with what was going on at the time. So maybe with this again, maybe Portable will learn a lesson.
I hope so, because he really has to learn a lesson here.
Now we go to sports. Daybreak Sports is waiting for us. Toluwani, how are you doing today?
Good morning, Samson.
We saw a lot of results yesterday that almost shook the world of football.
The world of football,
coming from Aston Villa, coming from 2 goals down to winning 3-2 against Paris Saint-Germain. I think Paris Saint-Germain have a track record of bottling it up when it comes to important games. You could remember, against Barcelona, they had the same issue. Even Barcelona had the same issue against AS Roma at the point where Costas Manolas got that winning goal eventually. So away from that too, we saw what happened between the other game where Barcelona also got beaten 3-1 by Borussia Dortmund, which we thought was over, having lost 4-0 at home away to Barcelona at the Camp Nou. Results.
Amazing stories, coming up in the Champions League, but we have some major stories.
Now, let me ask you, before you delve into the story proper, should we expect the same thing from Real Madrid this evening?
Samson, never say never. Football, we are heading straight to the Santiago Bernabeu, and I'll be giving you updates right there in the world of sports. All right, good morning once again. I am Abe Paul Toluwanimi. Welcome to Daybreak Sports on your channel of choice, Dominion Television. We're moving straight into action, and you know how we do it today. We'll move straight into the local scene where we have the Flamingos, under 17 Flamingos, have stepped up preparations for this weekend at FIFA under 17 Women's World Cup. The final qualifying round, the first leg clash would be with their counterparts, from Algeria, scheduled for the Remo Star Stadium in Ikene. The 2022 World Cup bronze medalist under the watch eyes of head coach Bankole Olowokere and his assistant have remained in camp at the Stella Remo Stars Sports Center right there. This year, FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup will be hosted in Morocco on the 17th of October till the 8th of November with with African to represent 5 teams, including the host nation, at the final. That's the situation report coming through from the Flamingos, and we're wishing them the very best right there in that competition. Moving away from that, yesterday was exciting where we saw the African Cup of Nations Under-17 playoff take part yesterday. This game between Morocco and Cote d'Ivoire ended in a penalty shootout, and Morocco, coming out on top 4 goals to 3 right there, winning this qualifying round right there. Also moving away from that, Burkina Faso against Mali also played, the playoffs right there, and the game ended 2-0 in favor of Mali. Moving away from the CAF playoff qualification, we're heading straight into the Nigerian Football Federation Cup round of 16 for the women's side. Right here, we're seeing the Rivers Angel, yes, against First Mati FC. Also, we're seeing Remo Ladies against Dumas Ladies. Also, Delta Queens against the Ibom Angels. We are seeing Omoro OD against Atlant Queens. We're seeing Oshun Babes against Edo Queens. Also, Mighty Jets Mata against Unification FC LG. Also, we're seeing the Sunshine Queens against Kogi Confluence, and also Nasarawa Amazons against Bayelsa Queens. So that's the updates coming through. They say what a man can do, a woman can do better. So I think that's to show that also we are seeing them take part in the 2025 President Federation Cup round of 16. Moving away from that, also, this is where we have the big guns. I'm talking about the men of Timber and Caliber. So to say, right there in the President Federation Cup round of 16. Nasarawa United, remember yesterday I gave you an update about the situation right there, but they're going to take out Bayelsa United today. Also, we have Solution FC are also going to welcome Kwara United. Also, we have Warri Wolves against Wiki Tourist. We have Plateau United against Oshun United. We have Eyimba against Abakaliki. We have Ikorodu City. They call them the babies of the league. They're going to take on Beyond Limit. Also, Bended Insurance are also going to welcome Rangers International. And we have Aqua United against Inter Lagos. That's the 2025 President Federation Cup, coming up today. Moving away from that, we're heading straight, still the local scene, but heading straight into the world of rugby. Amazing. And this story is coming, from the 2024 National Sport Festival Gateway Games. Trust me, when I got this report this morning, I was so excited to see that rugby is going to take part in these Gateway Games coming up right there in Abeokuta. Now, quickly, the rugby rejoins the lineup for the 2024 National Sport Festival, tagged the Gateway Games. In a significant development for the sporting community in Nigeria, rugby has officially been readmitted into the 2024 National Sport Festival, themed the Gateway Games, scheduled to take place in Ogun State from the May 16th to the 30th of 2025. With Ogun State set to host the festival, all eyes are now on the Gateway State as preparation intensifies for what promises to be a thrilling, inclusive, and talent-packed edition of Nigeria's foremost multi-sport event. So I think it's a good news that we are seeing the rugby team and also federation coming to take part, in the Gateway Games for this competition. Also, several games coming up, swimming, table tennis. So this one competition that we're going to put our eyes on right here on Daybreak Sports. So make sure you're always very much connected to Dominion Television. Moving away from that, we're heading straight into the world of table tennis. Remember yesterday I spoke about Aaron Okodri, doing great things there at the ITTF, games are going on in China. But this is going to happen. This battle has been ongoing, and let me let you know that Anton Kalberg has been on, the most recent win ahead of Kodri Aruno right there. And let me let you know that the first time they met was in the September 10, 2024, where Kalberg won that game 3 goals. Won that round 3-2. Also earlier this year during the China Smash 2024 tournament. Also, Kalberg came out on top, defeating Aruna 3-1. Also, looking ahead, both players are set to participate in the ITTF World Cup 2025, and they have been drawn in Group 16. And this is promising to be another battle between Anton Kalberg and also Quadri Aruna. Now, moving away from that, at Daybreak Sport, we don't just do football alone. We give you all-round sport, and we are getting straight into the world of boxing. Who loves boxing? I love boxing. Okay, but this match is highly anticipated because Usyk, yes, Alexander Usyk and also Daniel Dubois is reportedly finalized for July 12, 2025 at Wembley Stadium. This match is going to be on the 12th of July, 2025 at the Wembley Stadium. Remember that this fight is going to take place because Usyk is holding the WBA title, WBC and WBO belt right there. The first encounter in August 2023 ended when Usyk secured the 9th round knockout victory over a disputed low blow call against Dubois right there. And since then, Usyk has solidified the status by defeating Tyson Fury twice, while Dubois has claimed the IBF title and defended it with a notable knockout win over Anthony Joshua. So this is going to be a big fight, and it's going to be a sellout right there in Wembley. So trust us, we're going to be looking at this fight right here and giving you the back-to-back update as how the fight is building up for Wembley at the 12th of July 2025. Moving away from the world of boxing, we're heading straight into the world of the Champions League night of football. And this is where it gets interesting. Samson was talking about Borussia Dortmund getting a win over FC Barcelona yesterday. And the African man, I'm talking about Guirassy, getting an hat-trick in that game yesterday, right there at the Iduna Signal Park in Germany. The game ended 3-1, but on aggregate, it's 5-3, taking Barcelona to the next round. Moving away from Barcelona, we're heading straight into the match also yesterday, where Aston Villa were able to secure a victory on their own turf right there at the Villa Park in Birmingham, England. The game ended 3-2. Hakimi on the score sheet right there for Paris Saint-Germain. Nuno Mendes also on the score sheet for Paris Saint-Germain. We have Yuri Tillemans, Jean McGinn, and also Eric Konsa on the score sheet for Aston Villa, taking the aggregate 5-4. Safe to say, Paris Saint-Germain are also in the next round of the UEFA Champions League night of football. But tonight is going to be exciting. Trust me when I say exciting, we're going to see fantastic game played tonight. And the report is that Arsenal are going to head straight down to Spain, to see how they play the Galacticos, the 15-time champions. I'm talking about the white side of football. And the report is that we got that Real Madrid are going to show the trophy, to Arsenal. 15 trophies. Remember, Arsenal have none, in their cabinets. But the first leg ended 3-0 in favor of Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. Remember, Declan Rice has superb free kick, to give Arsenal that lead. And also, Merino are getting on the score sheet. But right now, also the report we're getting at Santiago Bernabeu is that they're going to close the stadium roof to fuel the noise of the fans. So that will create more tension for Real Madrid. And if Real Madrid can get a goal in 15 minutes of the first half, I think we're going to see so much problem going on. And remember, Vinicius Jr. also spoke about, the game, saying we have done it against Manchester City, we have done it against Wolfsburg, we have done it against big teams, in this competition. So why not against Arsenal? Also, moving away from that, we're also going to see Inter Milan welcome Bayern Munich right there at the San Siro Stadium. So it's going to be a big battle, between Inter Milan and Bayern Munich. Remember, the game ended 2-1, right there in favor of Inter Milan. So we're going to see who is going to get straight to the semi-final stage. Remember, Paris Saint-Germain are through to the semi-final stage. FC Barcelona also through to the semi-final stage. So tonight is going to be a big night right there between Arsenal and Real Madrid. And let me say Real Madrid and Arsenal, and also Inter Milan are going to welcome Bayern Munich. That's going to be all right here on Daybreak Sport on your channel of choice. I remain Abepo Toluwanimi. Over to Samson, who is smiling, and I'm sure he's expecting one also, AB, in the studio.
Okay, so we were talking about Real Madrid the other time. Do you think they stand a chance of getting to defeat Arsenal, maybe qualify for the next phase of the UEFA Champions League? Judging by the fact that Judging by the fact that there are so many, you know, things set aside for Arsenal, displaying all the 15 trophies and then closing the roof. That is one thing. That is one thing that might give Arsenal problem. Yeah. Don't forget, when they played Barcelona, the noise was enough that even Van Persie could not hear the referee actually blew the whistle. How much more playing at the newly refurbished Santiago Bernabeu, where the roof will be closed? That would be a major problem for Arsenal. If they cannot keep their cool in that kind of condition, it might be, you know, another thing entirely.
So it's going to be a big game, trust me. And if a team can do it, it has to be the Galacticos Real Madrid. Remember what they did, you know, 2 seasons ago, you know, to Manchester City, another England, you know, opposition right there. So if a team can do it, it's going to be Madrid, you know, doing it tonight. But anything can happen in football. Never say never. But before you go, something, let me ask AB, you know, our predictions, because she looks like Miss Octopus. If you remember Octopus, you know, the World Cup. So let's see, maybe AB Octopus can give us, you know, a prediction.
No
AB, what are your predictions for tonight?
I have no predictions.
You have no predictions.
Okay, Tolu, and over to you. Your prediction in 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
Okay.
Real Madrid against Arsenal.
Madrid are going to win tonight, but they're not going to qualify to the semi-final stage. Also, Inter Milan are going to qualify and also win tonight.
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for being a part of this show this morning, Tolu.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you. All right, on this note, we'll draw the curtains on today's edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. We say very big thank you to everyone that has been a part of this show so far. Don't forget, tomorrow is another day. And of course, to do that, to link up with us, you can join us on our YouTube page or YouTube channel. It is at Dominion Broadcast. You can also watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng, at dominion.org.ng. Also link up with us on all other social media platforms, which is Instagram, Facebook and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast. Also on X at Dominion Cast. Okay, this morning I say rise up, start fresh, and of course see the bright opportunity ahead of you in each new day. The mindset is your superpower, so use it well. Okay, on that note, I say goodbye this morning. Okay, we also have other show lined up, but Samson Balogun is my name.
My name is Abby Dickinson. Thank you for joining. Tomorrow is another day. God bless Nigeria.